Hey all, thanks for joining me again. Today I'm going to make another video on PowerShell basics. We're going to be going over the conditional statements. So the importance of conditionals in programming is it allows you to have a portion of your code execute only if a specific condition is met. So usually you have a condition based off of something is true or it's not true, and then that piece of code is then executed or not executed at that point. There's also statements called um, like a switch statement where it'll execute and either continue on to execute the other um, true matching statements, or it'll break out and then finish that statement as well. So the first one we're going to go over is like if, else, or else if. This is a common conditional statement. Um, it's typically used in everything that you'll need to do. So if you want to check a value and then execute a piece of code based off of what that value is, you would use like an if statement. So we'll just do a simple one here. So actually just test a path. So this is a common one that I use pretty much all the time when I'm using PowerShell, doing anything with files or paths or anything like that. So get path. We'll just see if a folder exists on my computer. And then we're going to write out some text based off of that. And we'll actually do it this way. Just going to assign that to a variable so we can reuse it later. I don't like hard coding things in my codes, because if I ever wanted to change the path, well, I got to change it in 500 places instead of just the one. So it's always good to use variables. Makes things very easy to update and change later. I'll just say it exists, right? So if we just read through this here, if the path exists, so get path, it'll return an object which will make it true. So if this is true and it exists, we're going to output the path exists, and then does not exist if it does not exist. So if it's true and it exists, then it'll output this, else it's going to output this. So let's just run that, see what happens. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not get path, test path. Wrong command completely. So test path. So ctemp exists because it does exist on my computer. We can also do a inverse operation here, and you can say if it does not exist, so we can inverse that. So if this is not true, basically, then it's going to output what's under here. So a scenario where you might use this, so you can test a path. So if it doesn't exist, then you can just create it, or you can leave it without the inversing it and just say it exists and does not exist, and you can create it down here if it doesn't exist. You can also do an else if. So we'll just copy this one here and kind of just add an else if. So this is giving us the ability to test a second condition with the same if statement. So this will allow us to test a different path or something else, a different condition, to execute this piece of code. So we'll just do folder path. New folder. It's called that. I don't think that folder exists, so should return false. Or it should not execute this piece of code, I suppose. So we can try that. Yeah. Let's see what that does. So it exists, so it obviously executed the first one again. But if this didn't exist, we can actually inverse it. So it tries the second one, and this one will fail again. And it only executes one of these, right? So if this one was true, it would not even check these, right? If this one's true, it won't run this one. And this one will only run if this one is false. I don't know if that makes sense. But I can run that here. So it exists, and then it just said it doesn't exist. It never passed this one either, so it didn't execute this path. So I guess we can create that and see it. See it actually execute it. New folder. Item type, container, directory. Yep. So I just created that path. So now this one should actually succeed, and it says it now exists. So you can see here, I just inverse this because it does exist, but yeah. And then it went ahead and did this test, and it was true. So then it executed the next piece of code. So that's a else if. The other one I'm going to show you briefly here is just a switch statement. So we can do switch off of a like a string. So let's just do letter equals A, and then we'll switch. There's some advanced switches as well. I won't go over those now. And we'll just flat switch over a string. So this is, again, a conditional. So we're going to say A here, and then execute a piece of code. And if you don't want it to continue executing, you should add a break statement. So it's going to break out of the switch and basically continue on to the rest of the code below that, the ending bracket here. So we'll just do a few of these just so you get the idea. And there is a default. So the letter is not A or B, right? So let's just run this and see the output. So the letter is A. If we change it to B, oops, the letter is now B. And then if we change it to something else, for instance C, the letter is not A or B. So you can see here in the switch statement, it creates a match, and once it's a match, it will execute whatever's in the brackets after the match, and then break out and not execute anything else. So that's pretty much it. I think that's a really basic video on conditionals. Like I said, these are very useful if you want code to execute only if something is true or not true, or based off of some factor that you're trying to filter out. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and drop me a like if you like the video and you want to see more of these, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see other programming or computer videos. Thanks again. Bye.